the small details go like a significant way when somebody's considering hiring somebody, because it just shows that you care, right? Like if you didn't care, it'd be like, hey, Mr. Smith, I was just following up, circling back to see where we're at. Like fucking kill me. Like nobody wants that text message. Nobody wants that email.
Is the customer that beats you up the most on your price is generally the customer that's going to beat you up the most on the project.
And we back with another episode of the Mission Control Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Stearns. I got Adam with G Fedale. Adam, what's up, dude?
What's going on?
Not much. Hey, I got a question for you. Why don't eggs tell jokes?
I don't know.
They crack each other up, man. Come on. It's a layup.
You must have young kids at home, because I tell those dad jokes all the time, and I get the sideways looks, and I love it.
Yep.
I eat it up, man.
That's what I promptly tell them. Like, not everyone can land, but you keep trying your best. All right. You persevere. Want to thank you for coming on to the show today. Thank you all for tuning in, and shout out to the team at Roofer for help making this happen. If you need instant roof quotes, roof measurements, clean and pristine proposals, which will give your prospects no choice but to buy from you, click the link in the description. You'll be happy you did. I love how we met stories, right? So let's walk down that road. So I'm in Utah, Salt Lake City specifically. I think it was February, and I was expecting to get away from some of the blistering cold of Buffalo and snow, and I didn't. Spoiler alert. I was, and I also forgot the altitude difference, right? So I'm at the gym in the morning and I'm running, and I'm like, man, I'm really out of breath for being, a half mile in. The hell's going on? I start sweating profusely, and I do my couple miles, and I was like, man, that was a struggle bus, right? So we go to the event later on, and we go to a dinner, and I'm there with a client, and introduced me to Adam, and we had a great conversation, and that's how this all started. That's where we came into contact. The food was great, in case you guys were wondering. I'd love to shout out the name of the restaurant. Do you remember the name? I don't.
Oh man, I don't. It was good though. It was good.
If by chance you guys are listening, you did a great job, and we're proud of you. I want you to know that. I think that's very important. Maybe we'll drop it in the description. We'll figure it out. So you told me a bit about your company at that point in time, and why don't you share with the audience a little bit about G Fedale?
Sure. Yeah, we're location. We can start with that. So we're out on the East Coast. Our headquarters is in Wilmington, Delaware. We're family run. So it's my oldest brother, Glenn, who started the company. I'm one of 10 kids. And it's my other brother, Alan, and I that are currently leading the company together. And we have our 6th location that we're planting this year, and we're hoping by the end of the year we'll have planted our 7th. And so we're growing. We serve really that kind of surrounding tri-state area: Maryland, New Jersey, southeastern Pennsylvania, and we're exterior refacement remodeling company. So siding, windows, doors, roofing, gutters, downspouts, things like that. Really the exterior envelope of the home. So in terms of like the nuts and the bolts, that's kind of what we do, where we are. We're big on core values. So if you want me to jump into that, I'd be happy to, kind of who we are as a company, but I don't want to say too much either. So
we'll get there. We're going to get there.
All right.
So I've always heard, like, don't work with family, right? It causes issues. Has that been your experience? And I mean, I can't imagine in any circumstance, whether it's family or not, there's not going to be issues. Any business owner that I know, there's no shortage of issues, right? But what's it like working through growing a company with your brothers?
Yeah, no, it's a challenge. You've heard the old adage, money and blood don't mix. And I think, I think it's, I thought about it a lot. Like, why is that it can be a challenge? And I think what it comes down to is consistent expectations and accountability, right? It's like the same stuff that makes a business that doesn't have family members involved, successful or unsuccessful, can harm a company if either the person that's, giving the expectations doesn't hold those expectations consistently, or if the person that was given the expectations and is going to be held accountable for not meeting them feels like, like I think we all kind of intuitively know that, but
yeah,
that's I think those are the challenges, to be honest. So, something that has helped us is knowing, number one, that you're going to make mistakes. Like you're going to inconsistently dole out expectations, and you're going to inconsistently hold people accountable. And those family members are going to want inconsistent treatment, right? A little bit like they're going to want a little bit of favoritism, like, oh, you can't let that slide, right? So you just have to accept that you're going to make a mistake as the owner, and your employee / family member is going to make a mistake. And I think there's got to be grace there, right? Like that's got to be built in, where you're like providing a little bit of grace, and that's got to come from both sides. But the second thing, and we all should make a real concerted effort, although it's never going to be perfect, is like get those standard operating procedures of how you go about, paying commissions on what day of the month. Like get those SOPs figured out on like when they hit a bonus, like what GP does it have to surpass? Like if you can get that stuff in writing, out of your head, in writing, oh my goodness, you'll save yourself so many headaches. It's just incredible. And maybe the last thing I'll throw out there is, and my brother Glenn, who started our company, has always done such a great job of this. My brother Alan, who I'm partners with, he also does a fantastic job. People have to be more than a number. So you want to be constantly investing in, family members included, the growth of that employee. If it's a very transactional relationship, you sell, I pay you, that's it. I see you at Thanksgiving. Like, yeah, you're kind of fostering an environment where some of these disagreements come up and they're a bit in the vacuum. But if outside of that, you're also like, oh man, I really hope my uncle who sells for us is able to get something out of this, sales training that I'm sending him to, and you call him at 6 o'clock. Hey, how did it go today? What'd you learn? Like if you're filling that with like other things where they know you care, they know you're investing in them. Anyway, those are just a few tips that I feel like have, probably been tips that I know now because they were scars of learning the hard way. and we've been able to improve from them.
So the first one with accountability and expectations, we can't do as I say, not as I do. Also, both parties have got to be willing to accept accountability. And dude, I say it all the time, like relationships will flounder or flourish with clean expectations and then accountability to those, right? And it doesn't matter the type of relationship. It could be husband, wife, parent, child, employer, employee. Everybody expects something from everyone. And for those that are listening who tell people I have no expectations, I'm going to tell you, you're fucking lying. But everybody inherently has some sort of expectation of somebody else on the other side of the equation. It might be 100%. Financial support. It might be emotional support. It might be camaraderie. It might be, if I'm a quarterback, you're going to throw me the ball if I'm to the receiver, right? There's always an expectation. So make sure that we're all on the same page. We understand how we make this living, breathing organism function, and maintain homeostasis, right? I'm a scientist. I'm kidding. I'm not. I was actually terrible at science, but important. You mentioned core values, which towards the end, you talked about culture being more than a number. And I think those two are very, very closely related. And I want to dive into that in a moment. You also mentioned giving a little grace. I think a little grace goes a long way. But when the bullets are flying and you've got 17 jobs being built and you got 12 change orders and crews asking you questions and your sales guys harassing you about commission, even though it's in the SOP that you created and he should know, how do you maintain being cognizant about giving grace? How do we take a step back and not crash out on somebody?
Yeah. No, I think there's a lot of examples that come up, but probably the best way to approach giving grace is with extreme ownership in mind. So what I mean by extreme ownership is I was sitting at a conference a couple years ago. Jocko Willink was speaking, motivational guy, military guy, man's man. And he's talking about this mission that failed. And he gathers his people together. It was like a mock mission. Training exercise. And as he goes around, knowing how the sniper failed, knowing how the person in the battalion vehicle failed, knowing how, he knew, but his first question was, sniper, how did I drop the ball in either preparing you to be with proper communication on what you needed to do? What could I have done differently to make sure that you were prepared and ready to do what you needed to do? Yeah. Battalion vehicle, so really approaching it in that way. And it's challenging because you really have to look at yourself first as how did I fail my people so that they failed? But it gives you this sense of grace as you're approaching these situations that I think in the end, provides this incredible result. So actually kind of good timing that you asked this. I had a situation this morning with an employee. We will sometimes run a rehash event at the end of a month. Within a quarter, we generally won't do more than one. And anyway, we've had these situations happen before where it's all right, what are we going to put together for this? And rather than being all right, well, it's today that we're doing the rehash. We need, we need to have these ideas prepared. I was what could help? How could I have helped beforehand to make this happen? So I was a calendar spreadsheet of when our rehash events are. It helps my employee to look further out. It helps me to know kind of what's happening. And ultimately, this is going to help our manufacturers and distributors that are partnering with us sometimes on these rehash events. It's going to help them plan ahead too, because they have a budget that they need to keep. And I was just so excited. Him and I were going through it, we're vibing, and I'm man, this is awesome. So what started as a little bit of frustration that this wasn't prepared ahead of time, and we're being a little last minute on it. It turned into this beautiful thing because we both approached it with a sense of ownership and grace. How can we resolve this? So
yeah, and I'd imagine from the employee side, it's much more likely that you're viewed as a leader, not a manager in that instance, right? Yep. Being able to, acknowledge something that you could have done differently that affects things downstream, having that accountability, and then being solutions oriented instead of, too many times it's let's point the finger, right? And maybe there is a ball that's dropped here and there. It's always going to happen. And those are opportunities for coaching, development. But if, like you said, if you're leaning in and ultimately, if you're at the top, by virtue of logic, everyone beneath you is your responsibility. And, when we drop the ball on something, we should own that. I love that, dude. That's good. I was going to say shout out to Jocko too. Nice picture of his watch at, 4:30 a.m. every morning.
Oh man, that guy, he's a beast. He's a beast.
So let me ask you a question as it relates to rehash, because people do it differently. Yeah. In the rehash event, if it's rehashed, is it redistributed from the previous sales rep? Do they receive, if it's not redistributed, do they receive a cut in commission? What? Because I would imagine, right, if they know a rehash is coming and there is some sort of consequence for them not selling it and the rehash team selling it, they're going to be more likely to then say, okay, it's happening on the 29th. I'm going to push really hard 26, 27, 28 to make sure that, I get as much as I can.
Yeah, I've heard of companies doing that, but we don't. So the reason we don't do that is we feel like if we can ever find scenarios where a customer wins, the company wins, the salesperson wins, like if we can ever find those like win-win-win situations, we really try to like not change our approach there. And we feel like this is one of those situations. Like if our salesperson that was originally building rapport and building relationship then passes it to another salesperson, we feel like that new salesperson would have a lower probability of selling that deal. So there's, by default, there's, it's not a win for the company. It's not a win for the salesperson. But we also feel like that's not a win for the customer either. Like if a customer has a new person come in, there's this like exchange where you had this person had all the knowledge. Now this person only has part of the knowledge, and they're going to be like, do you guys really know what you're doing? And are they going to feel confident about the project? Are they going to feel confident about referring us? So anyway, those are some of the challenges that we saw in doing that rehash. So our approach to rehash is a little bit different. We keep it with the same salesperson. We just try to put in some incentives. And this is where I'm going to shout out my salespeople. We offer two incentives, right? One to the customer, one to the salesperson. What I love about our sales team is they're way more motivated about what is going to help our customer than about a new Apple Watch or, some gift card out to a dinner restaurant. So shout out to our salespeople. That's what really gets them excited when they feel like they can confidently go back to a customer and say, hey, you know what? We were able to take X percentage off of your project. It's this like end of quarter promotion, and we just would love to work with you guys. You seem like great customers. Can we make this happen? And sometimes that's enough to like put it over the edge.
Sure.
But really, like in a nutshell, it narrows down to being one of those two rehash strategies.
Yeah, that's dope. So I know that a lot of companies that have that alternative strategy to rehash, one of the reasons is because they have issues with follow-up with their sales team. So how do you maintain the attentiveness and the tedious nature of follow-up and ensuring that it's done? Is it systematically through the hiring process and making sure the right people are in the right seats? Is it ongoing management? What does that look like?
Man, that's a great question. The two things that come to mind are, number one, it's like the way we are, right? So I guess you could call that culture. But I'll bring up with our people, like, yeah, I got a long ride ahead of me, but I got a lot of phone calls to make, and I'll talk to them about how I like would do my follow-up in sales. You're going through your past 2 weeks of calendar and you're thinking, okay, how can I creatively follow up with this customer in a way that's not going to seem overbearing, but also I'm going to be direct with them and it's from a place of trying to help them, right? Mm-hmm. So a follow-up may be something like, hey, Mr. Smith, I just drove past a house. It's got a charcoal roof on it. And it made me think of yours. Your house would look great with the charcoal roof on it. Kind of sounds corny. Like, Adam, are you a designer? But anyway, customers appreciate it. They care a lot about their home and their project, and they probably want to align with a contractor that also does. And little things like that can go a far way. The second thing is what everybody already knows, and that's just accountability. So if I'm sitting with a salesperson and they have a sub 30% closing ratio, then we need to have a hard conversation about how can we creatively get your closing ratio above 30%. And there's times where there's like core adjustments that may need to be made. Maybe they need more training in a certain area, right? Like extreme ownership in mind. How could I have geared this person up better to be able to sell with a better closing ratio? So I need to ask myself that question first. But when it comes to them, that that follow up, not just during rehash events, but all the time, that's going to be one of the main questions that we're asking that salesperson. What's your follow up process look like?
Yeah.
So anyway, we're different than many companies. I know there's many companies that are one stop, one call close. If you don't sell it, it gets passed on to a different person. That's not us at all. A lot of our sales are on the second or third call. So just a little bit more relationship based.
Yeah, I like that. And it's a phenomenal point as far as figuring out creative way to follow up. And what you said, you're like, it might be kind of corny, but like realistically, if I'm a homeowner and I'm interviewing different roofing companies, I'm having conversations, just the mere thought that somebody held on to something, you remember that we talked about a charcoal roof, and you remember that, this brought it to mind, that our conversation, the small details go like a significant way when somebody's considering hiring somebody, because it just shows that you care, right? Like if you didn't care, it'd be like, hey, Mr. Smith, I was just following up, circling back to see where we're at. Like fucking kill me. Like nobody wants that text message. Nobody wants that email. And that's another thing, right? Is like, if you're calling Mr. Smith, he's not answering, shoot a text, use an emoji and inject some humor into the conversation, right? Like there's different ways and different contexts based on the initial meeting of levers that you can pull to keep that person engaged, right? Maybe they're a Philadelphia Eagles fan, which go Bills, right? But hey, I watched the Eagles beat up on the Vikings, and I thought of your yard sign in our conversation. Just want to check in, make sure you're doing well. If there's anything that you need, I'm here to help, right?
Sure.
Service oriented, right? So, dude, that's amazing.
I think on top of that, you're really like doing yourself a lot of favors if you're direct with a customer too. So, we're obviously in business to get jobs and in business to do those jobs, to do them well, to be able to honor those warranties for a long time. And that way we're able to be profitable. But, I think, like I'll get those 300 marketing emails a day that I think a lot of business owners get, and they're really trying to, to be creative. But what captures me in those marketing emails is when people are, direct, like, hey, this was a case study that we did, and here's how we were able to increase this other company's, lead intake by X amount. And, I just, and maybe that's just my personality. And because I like to buy like that, I like to sell like that. Sure. But I think that direct approach can be helpful sometimes. Cause I think at the base level for any customer, what's going to make them comfortable moving forward with a construction company that's going to be working on their home around their biggest investment, their home, most of the time, and around their family, right? Is not the cheapest price. It's not even the most knowledgeable installer, although I think that is important. It's who they feel like they can trust.
Yeah. Absolutely. So guys, if you're tuning in, despite what your sales reps are telling you, which our prices are too high, that's not necessarily indicative of getting the outcome that you want. Usually it's a false objection, right? And there's a gap somewhere else where they don't feel confident. It doesn't matter what you're selling, right?
Yeah. And there's different customers out there, you're going to get that percentage of customers that no matter what you say, how comfortable you make them feel, how trustworthy you are, you could have the best value for dollar in your entire industry. They are just that customer that's always going to go with the cheapest price. Just like you have that other, let's call that 10%, just like you have that other 10% that they're just going to call one company. They felt comfortable with your advertising, or maybe talk to a referral of yours. And no matter how expensive you are, they're just going to go, They're just going to move forward with you. But then you have the other 80. And I think it's that other 80 that what you just said, Mike, hits the nail on the head. Like,
So it's a good time to talk about not every customer being your customer. I've talked to a lot of contractors over the years. I experienced this, through the scars, as you would say, when I first started my business. And usually you have an event or two where you're like, I got to do a better job figuring out exactly who I want to work with. Right. Did you ever struggle with that? Did you ever have like an aha moment?
Oh my goodness. I'm like the Department of Education, like no child left behind. Like I'm that in sales, like no customer left behind. I don't want to lose any customer. So I'm more of a sales driven leader than maybe an operations driven leader, but, and you can tell that in that statement there, but I think, it's funny. My brother Alan and I, we pray for our company each week. So we're like praying for their safety and our people's development and, just their families and stuff like that too. And one of the things that we like constantly will pray about is please protect us from bad customers. And we've all had them. Like I have one right now, and I'll obviously leave her name out. But she had staining result on her roof done in 2019, and she is upset that they're staining. So we're working with her. We can provide some, a process for you to interact with GAF. We can even facilitate the communication for you so that they can, help you with those warranties. We can pull samples, mail them out to them. Like we offered everything. And she's like, no, if you don't replace this roof, I'm taking you to court.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, you know what? There's certain people that, so anyway, I think there's some challenges there that you don't always see coming, but sometimes it's a blessing in disguise when you don't get that project. Not every customer's. So we've tried to like narrow down, like what can we look for, that will tell us that customer is not our customer. And honestly, the thing that seems to come up the most, and this is so counterintuitive to us, but the thing that seems to come up the most is the customer that beats you up the most on your price is generally the customer that's going to beat you up the most on the project. So there's this like old saying, how many times did someone have to tell me who they were before I believed them? Like if they're starting to beat you up at the beginning, they're probably going to beat you up at the end. And anyway, so that's one thing to look out for.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. I learned it early on. I do the sales for the company, and I would spend a lot of time with people, and an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, like giving them value, showing them the issues. Like this is fundamentally what's wrong with your marketing, advertising. Here's technically what's wrong with your website. These are the things you should do. Mm-hmm. And I found that exactly what you're saying. The folks that are just driving into price, trying to get the price down, trying to minimize, and it's like, dude, I mean, go with another company. So I took it a step further, and we have a consultation where I'll do like an intro call, 15 minutes. We'll talk about what the needs are, what some obvious issues are. And then like we do a 2 or 3 hour consultation, different vertical, obviously, in marketing than roofing. But that consultation is $1,500. If you buy something, I'll credit it towards whatever you buy. If not, you're going to leave with a ton of knowledge that's actionable that you can help fix your business with, help curate your next strategic partner for marketing and advertising. And you're going to leave with immense value. And we probably lose some good opportunities because of that, quite honestly, because people are like, who are you? You think you're going to charge me? And it's like, oh, that's fine. It's okay. Yeah. I'm okay with that. Because there's, we have case studies, we have testimonials, we have reviews of people that have done that consultation and not worked with us. Because I'll tell somebody straight up, like they're like, hey, I'm, first year in business, we did $800,000. We're looking for X, Y, and Z. This is our process. You're probably early for us, right? Based on what we do, how aggressive we are. However, you would benefit substantially from having this consultation where I'll lay out for you what the most common pitfalls are for contractors from a marketing and advertising perspective at your stage of the game. I can connect you with people that have been where you've been, done what you've done, and moved on to be very successful, like facilitate those transactions or those introductions. Right. So it's not for everybody, and that's okay. You can't be everything to everybody.
Yeah.
I learned that much later in life than I should have, honestly.
better late than never. That's what I tell myself at least.
Amen. How many employees do you have currently?
About 85.
85. Talk to me about your core values.
Yeah, so for us, an easy way, like a memorable way, was to use our company name as an acronym. So that's what we did. G is for grit. So in a world of people that want to work at like Twitter, the old Twitter, prior to Elon, where you got your cappuccino at 9, you got your pedicure at 10.
Hot girl walk at noon.
Where it's like that, like we've just turned that on its head, man, at our company. Like that's not desirable. Like back to Jocko again, like hard times make hard people, right? Like soft, easy times make soft people. And I don't want to be a soft person. Like I want to be prepared for difficult events because they're going to come. Trial like is going to come to all of us, and whether it's on the personal end or the professional end, like I want to be a tough guy, without being like the negative connotation of the tough guy. So hard work is important for us. So the F used to stand for family, but we actually kind of turned some stuff around because we wanted to avoid that, like, I don't know, everybody has that like Uncle Larry that it's like
nepotism.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. So we're like, you know what? No, we're more of a team than we are a family. And on a basketball team, what do you do when one of the other players doesn't box another player out? You kind of smack him on the arm. You're like, yo, box him out next time, man. He got that rebound. They just won the game. So there's real talk, right? You don't avoid confrontation. So that was the E after the F. That's encouragement. Like, let's be open with each other. Let's encourage each other. To jump back to the F though, that F stands for faith. So we have people in our company from all different walks, all different, identity type stuff. And I appreciate the diversity. For our company though, what is core to my faith, which I'm Bible believing Christian, is integrity, honesty, fairness, generosity. Like those things are very important to us, and they're rooted in our faith. So while what you believe is open, that's obviously up to each person. The non-negotiables are, you got to be honest, you got to be fair, you got to be generous, like you got to treat customers right. So those are some of the non-negotiables. The other reason we put faith in there is because it's funny, man. Like you talk to some company owners and they're like, yep, I pulled myself up on my own bootstraps. I not only opened all the doors in front of me, but I provided all the doors in front of me. And it's like, come on, man, how many breaks were you cut? Like, I know how many breaks I was cut. And I just, we count our blessings. And I know I would not be where I am today. Our company would not be where we are today without God constantly pursuing us with good. So anyway, that's the F, that's the E. The D is, that's for dedication. So we offer warranties with just about every project that we sell, at least an option for a warranty, right? So that's important. We like work in our communities. We're not some stormer where we're like in today, out tomorrow. No offense to any stormers out there. But we want to be here to stay. And that way you call us 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road. We want to be able to honor that work and not begrudgingly, right? That's the A. It's for attitude. Like we come back in because of a mistake we made. we feel like that's the best opportunity to show us your true color, show you our true colors, right? It's when it's like uncomfortable and it's costing us money. So when we go back in, we want to go back in and be like, we are sorry that you guys had to experience an issue. We are not perfect and we're not trying to act like we are. How can we address this? And sometimes we'll even end those situations with, here's a gift card on us. We apologize for the inconvenience. So that's the A, having that positive attitude. We're big on servant leadership at the company. So John C. Maxwell is a known leadership author, former pastor. And he's big on that too. Just instead of being the type of like bureaucratic company where you got to kind of step on someone to like climb up the ladder and put yourself to the top. Instead, we have more of like a structure of, you kneel down and like help shoulder somebody up to lift them up. Leadership sees how you're doing that. And that's how we feel like you're really showing that you have leadership qualities and can grow at the company. And then lastly, it's experience, right? So there's two sides to that. Like, stay in your lane. If you don't do basements, don't do basements. So stay in your lane. But like, if it's in your lane, like, own it. So if you install, James Hardy, then get certified. If you install GAF, then like commit to it. Take the care courses, communicate with their local rep, get the certification, like own it. There's so many guys out there that it's like instant gratification. Let me just like get this hit, but you can really burn yourself in the long run. But on the flip side, if you get these, like I focus on roofs, I do roofs, I always use GAF. Oh man, you can really do that well. And, customers appreciate it, and your bank account will look better at the end of the year too.
Great minds think alike, I guess. Our core values are an acronym. Well, our company name is an acronym that represents our core values. So,
oh, really?
That's cool. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Sure is. I like what you said as far as attitude. It's super simple. 99.9% of the time to do the right thing, operate with integrity, have a positive attitude, right? But in that 10th of a percent of the time, or 1,000th or 1%, whatever it is given the day, right? Like, how do you respond in that moment? That's what I want to see, right? Because everybody's a good person until they're not. And some people are just good people through and through. And obviously, ideally, when you're building a culture in a company, you hope to have as many people that are good through and through as possible. But yeah, how do you respond when the bullets start flying and the shit's on fire? Like, like you hate to see that circumstance, but I equally love to watch how people navigate through those circumstances.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, let's be real, man. We're all human. And I like, as you're asking me that question, I'm like going through the times that I failed.
Yeah.
And didn't respond well. And I had one even recently, 2 weeks ago. This one was really close to home. Literally, a neighbor across the street, elderly lady, sweetest lady in the world. I've done her doors. I've done her roof repairs. She lost her husband to cancer two years ago. So she just, she comes to me for stuff. So
yeah.
Anyway, she's like, hey, Adam, I want to get an addition done on my house. I got a price. It's, whatever, $700,000. It was a big addition, in-law suite that she's building. And I know you're in the industry. Do you have anyone you could recommend? And I started working with a new guy that was like the dad of one of my kids' friends from school. And I had a good feeling about him. Hadn't used him yet, but I said, consider him. Like, here's the things, but consider him. And so she called him, got a price. He was saving her money. And anyway, what I told him though, I was like, hey, here's what I want you to bake in. Like, we've done all the work on her project. So just bake in for roof and siding. We'll handle that stuff. And then you guys can obviously GC the entire project and do what you want to do. And anyway, it turned out. So she calls me. She's like, should I use this guy? I'm like, again, I haven't used him, but here's why I feel good about him. I've, whatever. And he gets the job and uses somebody else to do the roofing and siding. So it's like literally across the street from my house. So I like set this stage for all you business owners out there. I'm sure you would have been furious like I was, like, oh my goodness, talk about biting the hand. And I was in a conversation with him, and I could have handled it better for sure. But I talked to my brother afterwards, just like reflecting on like, how could I have handled this differently? And one of the key things that came out of the conversation for me was put yourself in his shoes, right? So we think like, I don't know, but we think the reason that he used someone else is because he got it for $1,000 cheaper or whatever. And he's got his guys he's used to using too. I'm sure that was part of it. But that is way more important for a general contractor that might do 2 projects a year, right? And maybe that's his livelihood. Every single dollar counts. Try to put yourself in those shoes. And I hadn't done a good job of that while I was on the phone with him. So I reflected on it afterwards, and we're always looking to like maintain the relationship. So I told him like, hey, I feel like you let me down, but on the flip side, I'm not going to hold it against you. Like, I'm a forgiving guy. I've been forgiven of so much, and I'm going to forgive you too. And I'll still count you as a friend. And man, it just like it gave me freedom from being so pissed off. I can't say I'm never upset about it. It still comes to mind because it's so like the wound is fresh. But it's like those real moments. You put that like in business, like customer terms, right? You have this upset customer, you feel like they're being unreasonable. Like, try to think about their experience in their own shoes, and that might help in the moment. Not fly off the handle when times get tough. Whether it's a roof leak, like that's an inconvenience, or maybe they have a child that has asthma and they're afraid of mold. Like you never know what all they may be going through. And if you don't ask, or if you don't take the time to try to put yourself in their shoes, it can be tough. And the only other thing I would add is sometimes like taking a step away from a situation, if it's like kind of heading in that direction, and just being like, you know what, can I give you a call back? And that might be the customer starts to curse on the phone, or things just feel like they're heating up. Just by having like the emotional wherewithal to take a step back is going to earn you such respect from that customer. And in the meantime of calling them back, if you can collaborate with one of your colleagues and just say, hey, here's the situation I'm dealing with. Do I have any blind spots? Like, that's the beauty of working with an awesome team. And we have an awesome team. Our leadership team is just fantastic. And we can bounce stuff off each other, gain insight. And then you come back to the situation with, instead of this like one-dimensional perspective of you're right, he's wrong, there's no way anyone's going to convince you otherwise. You're looking at it like, in 3D, and you're touching, smelling, feeling, hearing, trying to put yourself in their shoes of what they're experiencing. And it can really help. Not just them, but it can help you too.
Yeah, a little perspective goes a long way. And I don't know many situations that I look back on in life where I've been in an emotional state and made a decision, and there wasn't a way that I could have handled it better, right? So to your point about taking a step back and then taking a step further, consulting with other people who, you trust their opinion, and they can open your eyes, get you out of the tunnel vision. You're no longer a dog with a bone. You're at a dog park chasing around all the other dogs, having fun.
That's right. That's good.
Yeah, it's critical. And were you always that way? Or is this something that you like, having that awareness, right? That self-awareness to take a step back? Is that something you've learned over the years?
Yeah, I think two things have probably helped me be more self-aware. So I was a quirky kid. Like I was so shy as a kid that if someone gave me attention at the dinner table, I would just like close my eyes. And the prospect of like public speaking in front of anybody, oh man, was just like up there with like jumping out of an airplane or something, like I just very shy. So, and maybe that was a result of like a heightened self-awareness, which I don't know. Yeah, that might have been my parents' upbringing. My mom and dad both very aware of like themselves, and it might have been faith too. Like one of the core tenets of Christianity is like you're admitting that you're a sin, or you're admitting that you're sinful and you don't have it all together, right? So there's that probably plays into it a little bit too. But yeah, I think probably those couple things over time. You also like in business, you really make some mistakes that are costly. And I think those have probably contributed to that self-awareness too. You have a conversation not handled well, you lose a great employee. You have a mistake that you made on a project, it causes a loss of profit. So that, yeah, all those things probably contribute to it.
And that makes a lot of sense. I like what you said too. Kind of sounds like you're saying give people the benefit of the doubt and try to be understanding of what they might have, like empathy, right?
Yeah.
I was cut off in traffic not too long ago, and my immediate response is like, what the and then I was super proud of myself because I immediately took a step back and was, maybe they're rushing their kid to the hospital, right? Like maybe, so giving them that grace and trying to be empathetic to what potentially could be going on as opposed to assuming the worst. Like this person's an asshole. You're driving erratically and making it unsafe for other people. And that's not something that's ever really come natural to me. It's been a work in progress. So
it's tough, man. It's tough as a guy too, because you get like, what is being a man about, right? We build and we protect. Like that's those are the two things I feel like it boils down to. And if you feel like someone's trying to tear down what you built or they're trying to get at what you're protecting, it's just such an impulse to go defense and to go like
full caveman mode.
Me against you now.
It's so true. It's so true. And it's fun.
It's tough, man. Yeah.
I'm not usually an emotional person, right? Like in relationships that I've had over the years, it's like, you don't care. It's like, no, I do care, but us getting emotional and, shouting is not going to make the situation better, move us closer to a solution. So let's talk about it. But I'll tell you, there are those instances to your point where it's just like, yeah, me, you right now. Come on.
Which is like the worst thing. Like you play that out, right? Play that out. Like,
right.
Me, you right now, you guys like get into a shouting match. You're going to be anxious every time you see him. Back to my scenario, every time the dad drops the kid off to sleep over at the house or whatever. Yeah. Like what's
parent teacher conferences are going to be super awkward. You see each other in the hallway.
Nobody wins. Nobody wins in those situations.
Well done. How do you get your team to embody and really live and breathe those core values as opposed to it, being a couple sentences on a piece of paper or being pasted on the wall and nobody gives a crap about it?
Yeah. That's a great question. So the three things that come to mind are more is caught than taught. So I think you need to model it. If canvassing is important to you, then you should get out there and canvass as a leader. I don't care if you're the CEO. I think you should get out there and have some stories to tell your people. So more is caught than taught. Secondly, I think like communication in your town halls, your group meetings, where you're placing value on that is important. Especially in the form of training. So if you can go, like, one of the things that we use to address some of those harder conversations is it's an acronym RICE, backwards. So first thing is what you said earlier, Mike, empathize. That's what the E stands for. The second C is clarify, like, just so I'm understanding what you're saying, you want to use a different roofer on my neighbor's house, right? So you're clarifying. The I stands for isolate, right? So just so I'm understanding what you're saying, you don't want to use our company for anything. You want to use that company for because who knows? Maybe what he meant to say to me was, I want to use him for the siding, but I still want to use you for the roof. And I just, blew my top, and that, kind of just waxed everything. So isolating is important. And then the R is, sure you can guess it, response, right? So, okay, based on what you're telling me, and I can totally understand where you're coming from, this is what we're talking about. We're not talking about this. So what would you think about this as a fair resolution? So anyway, training, I think in those like group settings are important, right? That's important to support your team with stuff like that. And then lastly, and this should probably, if the other two make up 75%, this should make up 25%, is the accountability. And not that you want to hold your people accountable inconsistently, like it's got to be consistent, but if you're doing the other two things right, the accountability should be happening less. Now, don't get me wrong. I know at the beginning, especially if there's a change, it does happen more often, but being consistent at holding your people accountable has got to be it's got to be part of it. So as you hear about those situations, not laughing them off, not it happens sometimes. Like that giving grace can go too far. Like there needs to be accountability too if you want to see things like that in your culture.
I love that. As an avid basketball player, you said the box out reference. I'm like, especially if you're 5'8", you got to box out. You got to stick to the fundamentals, man. If you're going to get any boards, you got to position yourself well. All right. But you said rice, and I immediately think rest, ice, compress, elevate, because I've blown out my ankle like 6-7 times.
Wow.
But I like your use of the backwards acronym a lot more than when I blow out my ankle. I think it's impacts more people in a positive way. The thing about accountability, that's our number one core value at Ascend, accountability.
Wow.
I think it's incredibly important. And, we've tied KPIs, like important KPIs, to each position so that, like, at a glance, I think clarity is important for somebody if they're going to be a part of something, to know what's expected of you, but also for it to be flagrantly obvious if you're doing really good, bad, right? So the accountability cuts both ways. Oftentimes, like when I speak to my team, I can kind of see them when I say be accountable, own this. It's like, guys, this cuts both ways, because I also want it to be flagrantly obviously when you're doing a fantastic job, like, and we're considering what your next step in your career path is. I want it to be equally obvious that you're doing a fantastic job to make that decision easier, for me to have clarity, for the other members of the leadership team to have an understanding. And far too often, I feel like it's just the negative connotation when people hear accountability. They're like, think of all the bad things. It's like, no, this is also really good, right?
Oh, accountability done well, man. It's so restorative. It should be like eureka moment in nature. Like, you both should be walking away from it like, man, I'm so glad I had that conversation. And don't, like, I'm not trying to say that I do that all the time, but that is how it's done well.
Yeah. It's funny, right? Like when you're at the top of a company and you feel like you're the biggest fish in that pond, there's always that concern. Like, are people going to hold me accountable? Right. And I try to I try to be self-aware. I think I'm a pretty self-aware person, but we all have our own blind spots, right? Like it's different perspective. You're looking at it through different lenses than other people. So I try to be very encouraging of other team members. Like, guys, by the way, like I'm not perfect. Yes. I started the company, but also like I'm always looking to improve. You guys know that through our conversation. So don't be afraid to call me out on some bullshit if you see it.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Some people are willing to take me up on that offer. I feel like others, right? But it's important, right? I don't know. And, then Charlie will tell me, he's like, well, you're not the most approachable person. You're intimidating. I'm like, why? But, I'm like, is it something I'm doing with my face? I was like, is it, do I got to get my tattoos removed? What is it, Charlie? The door's always open. Tell them to come on in. Like, I want to hear it. It's just so interesting. So many different dynamics. But yeah, like through those core values and people understanding what they are and what you guys are striving for, it's, get everybody rowing in the same direction, not against the current, go with the current. If you can get where you're going with the current, why would you want to row against it?
Yeah.
But clarity around the mission, what's expected of everybody. And then you mentioned something about like the town hall meetings, getting the teams together, talking about these things, right? What does that typically look like as far as cadence for you? Is this something you're doing weekly, quarterly, monthly? And how do you go about deciding on how you're going to structure that meeting?
Yeah, man, good questions. So a couple thoughts here. First one is we actually partnered with a private equity backed roofing platform in January of 2025 called Infinity Home Solutions, called IHS for short. And they have an incredible culture. And I've been like attentive to how they handle some of their team meetings. So what I might do is, if it's okay with you, I'll share kind of what I've seen from their vantage point that I feel like it's just really been healthy for us. And then I can share what we do too. So they have, I'm sure you've heard of group accountability, but they have it set up where our leaders are meeting up on generally like a weekly basis, just for some higher level touch points. Here's this, here's that. And then they will get into just, answering questions like, we're here for you. And it makes you feel like, as a brand president, that it's very supportive in nature, right? And I've heard other people talk about that or write about that. Your meetings with their people, you really want them to feel like it's an opportunity for them to get something out of it. So I think that's been good, but you don't want to overdo it, right? Everybody is busy. So on the flip side, we don't have these like, massively long, every week meetings where the entire company is getting together. It's like at the right cadence, right? So I think within the past, what's it been, 9 months that we've been on board with them, almost 10 months. We've had 1, maybe 2 meetings like that. So anyway, it's like a nice, healthy balance. Not to say there's not other kind of breakout team meetings where you're going over monthly results or quarterly results. Sure. Like there is a place for that too. But anyway, I just feel like they do it better than we do. So that's the first part of my answer. The second part of my answer is the danger in roofing is when it comes to like team culture is, and you could probably finish my sentence for me, Mike, is production against sales, right? Yeah. So that is a cultural danger. Not to say it can't happen with office, customer service, whatever you want to call it, or other arenas, but it seems like where the most friction in the cogs of the wheel can occur is in the, production and sales. So for us, that was one of the driving forces in landing on a monthly, we call it our field team meeting, where sales and production are getting together and open communication, honest, right? Almost like that Ray Dalio approach where we're radically honest with each other, but on the flip side, humble, right? So yeah, if you want to bring something up that someone else can do better at the company, you need to approach it with much professionalism and much humility, because we're not going to have this like,
tear down culture.
Oh, it's just, and sometimes what needs to happen is not a conversation. After that happens, sometimes you just need to terminate somebody. So we've experienced that, where we had one person very humble in the scenario, one person very cocky in the scenario. And anyway, we saw that pattern occur. And, but yeah, so I think that's been a really helpful meeting. The other thing I'll say, and take this or leave this, because IHS seems to do it a little bit differently, but I feel like it's been critically important at our company to have monthly meetings with every employee in the company. So at our company, we have a management team of 11, from finance to marketing, to IT and training, things like that, HR. So, and they each have teams that report to them, right? I would go crazy. I'd pull out hair that's not left if I had to manage 85 people, right? So we've
sounds terrible.
That's right. We've tried to be strategic. Jesus had 12 disciples and one of them went bad. So we like generally try to keep it under 11. He's way better of a manager. Right. So, but finding time, and even better yet, like setting it on repeat where you're meeting with your people on a monthly basis, at the least as a team, but probably better individually, where you're talking about 360. How am I doing as your manager? You're talking about their metrics. You're talking about their interaction with their team. You're talking about their interaction outside of their team, right? You're like getting into some things. You're talking about like ways that you're investing in them, and you want to see them improve, kind of hearkening back to the earlier part of our conversation. So anyway, that's been something that we found has helped us continue to move forward, which is like that's a big important thing for us at our company. Like we constantly want to be up and to the right. And not to say we achieve it every year. This has been a soft year for the Mid-Atlantic, but at least from like a action standpoint of things that are within our control, that really helps facilitate some good action.
Well, congratulations on the partnership. That's amazing.
Thanks.
Shout out to Josh and the team at IHS. Would love to have you on the show. Come on down, baby. Chop it up. I shot a podcast recently, and it was a company. They've had pretty significant growth over the last couple of years, and we were talking about like that journey. And through my experience in working with roofing contractors over the last 11 years, there's always an assumption, the younger guys, the younger companies, smaller companies, there's always an assumption that, the guys they look up to, the 10, the 20, the 30, the $50 million companies, like they got it all figured out. Do you have it all figured out? Do you know the answer to everything?
Oh man, you figure out that you don't have it figured out. That's what you do. Yeah.
Constant reminders.
Nobody does. But one of the really, like, people ask me like, how's the partnership going? And not trying to plug the guys, but it's awesome. Like we're getting competitive pricing from suppliers. We were just out at one of the other like roofing brands, we call them, that are in the group. There's 24 of us all together, learning how to do better in this like niche within roof. And we just picked up so much good stuff. So you realize that you don't have it figured out. And when you are in a group like the group we're in, you end up having like a bunch of resources. Like there's one company that's awesome at solar and Tesla and all that stuff. There's another company that's awesome with multifamily and commercial. There's another company that has this like killer service program for repairs. And it's just awesome. You get to like learn from other people around you once you realize that, you know, you don't have it all figured out, but there's other people out there that might have some of it figured out that you don't have figured out. And that kind of helps you, you know.
Yeah. Like that community and network is, I don't want to say priceless, but it really is invaluable. Right.
Yep.
And to circle back on an earlier part of our conversation that you feel like you could have handled better in the moment, you know, in that instance, like, you know, maybe if somebody refers you a job, gives you a layup, and maybe you then just give them the roof because, you know, that network, so I always look at things, what increases the likelihood of a desired outcome? And for me, if I have a relationship with somebody, especially if they're looking out for me, I want to have the opportunity to look out for them. And I also want to increase the likelihood that they want to look out for me again. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've given a lot of grace and grown from that situation. Many people might not be as forgiving as you in that situation. So if you're a younger company out there and you have that situation presented to you, consider how you move in that type of, you know, construct and how you handle yourself, because, you know, people do judge and will make decisions based on how you handle situations. Network, man, I'll tell you, the best clients that we have, they have a strong network and they lean into it, right? And it's not only like, what can you do for me? How can you help me? It's how can I help you? What can I do to make your business better? How can we collaborate, right? And through that, some beautiful things really do happen. You know, so it makes sense that when you're talking about this community through IHS of these different people that know different things, exposed to different things, specialize in different things, that could be incredibly valuable as being a part of that community and having those resources just readily available to you through a phone call or text message. It's amazing.
Yep. I think the other thing that may be worth mentioning in the last few minutes that we have here together is there's such value in mentorship too, right? There's some good peer-to-peer stuff, but that had been something that I had struggled with for some time. Like, man, I really want to find a mentor. I have someone that like advises me on charitable giving. I have someone that advises my wife and I on marriage. I have someone that advises me on more like you know, dad stuff, parenting and stuff like that. So anyway, it's like I've got these different mentors, but when it came to business, I didn't really have a mentor, and it's something that I was looking for, praying about for probably 2 years, roughly, and it's been about 1.5 years now, almost 2 years, that I've now been with this mentor, and it's just been incredible. Like the advice that he get, his name's Kyle Halkman. He's also a business coach for anyone out there that's looking. He's awesome. I'll plug him. But it's just
send me like a profile that I could drop in the description. And I'll
we'll do. I mean, the advice of things that he's been through that has cost him money, those big mistakes that he's been able to share with me and help me avoid those mistakes. It's been awesome. So anyway, that would be the other thing I would kind of throw out there to any young, growing, you know, companies. Ask people out there for advice, but like formally do it too. Find a mentor, set up a monthly meeting, commit yourself to attend that meeting, come prepared with questions, and let the magic happen.
and listen to them and do what you're paying them. Like you're paying them to cut down an ignorance tax, right? Which is all fine and well. You attend the meeting, you come prepared, but you know, you don't want to be the guy that does that and then does nothing with all the insights that you gain. And you see that a lot, right? And people are like, you know, I'm wasting this money. It's like, you just got to execute. So, you know, that's our fourth core value here is execution. Cause it's like, you could have the best game plan, the best team on the field. But at the end of the day, if you guys aren't all executing, it's a pile of shit.
That's right.
Nobody likes a pile of poop.
Yeah.
You mentioned something earlier and it just came to mind about your core value changing from family to faith, and like we're more like a team. And it reminded me of I don't know why I just thought of this now. This happened 45 minutes ago or so, but anywho, I think it was the Netflix CEO where he's like, "We're not a family, we're a team, right? And just like any team, you got to come to practice, and you got to work hard at practice, and you got to build continuity. You got to do all these things." Then you got to show up on game day. And, if you don't consistently do those things, you'll no longer be part of the team. I thought that was a really interesting perspective shift, because a lot of people are like, the family type thing in a business. And I was like, I guess that does more align with like expectations within a company. It's like, come do your practice. If you're supposed to be lifting to get stronger, like whatever the goal is to make you better at your job, put energy and effort towards those things where, I don't know. Sorry. That's,
I love that, man. And I appreciate you mentioning that, because that like I'm really glad we made that shift. I feel like it was a good one, but early on, especially, I questioned myself because we were so proud of that. We're family run and, so on and so forth. But I think it was an important change. And hearing, I'm sure he's an exceptional leader. I don't know anything about him, but to be able to run Netflix and how much success they've had, that makes me feel good about the decision we made too.
There you go. We're going to have to do a part 2 to this, because I will require some more of your time, because I've got a lot of time. and I know you're also busy, and I don't want to tie you down for too long here.
I've really enjoyed this, man. This has been great. Yeah.
Do you have any questions for me before we go?
I'd love to pick your brain. Maybe we can do it in part 2. But I'd love to pick your brain. And as you're meeting with business owners and things like that, if you had like a top, 3 or even a top 1 takeaway that you've seen as a pattern in different leaders that have been successful that you could share with your listeners.
They execute. Right. So like, for instance, Brock, right? Brock is the one that introduced us in Salt Lake City, as you know. One of the things that, Brock was a little smaller than a company I would have typically worked with when we started working together, but he clung, I could sense, right, through conversation and watching him, he's hanging on to everything I'm talking about. He's writing it down, and like he started doing the things, right, without even like strict, guidance or coaching in perpetuity. Like, you got to do this thing. I would recommend doing this. And then, one of the things was a CRM. He was a young company. Like, I think he was open for like 6 months. He'd done a couple $100,000 in revenue. I'm like, get a CRM now. Right. I was like, the reason you do it now is so that I was like, it always sucks setting up a CRM, but I'll tell you what sucks more than doing it now. Doing it in 6 months when you got another person you have to train alongside. Because it also kind of undermines you, right? Yes, there's an expectation that you guys are bringing on a new software, but you're a leader. So if you can lead somebody and show them that you know how to do something, there's inherently more confidence in you. Yep. And there's less data to put in, and there's less learning curves that you're going to run into or speed bumps as you go through that process if you already have it ironed out. Dude had an appointment with, Job Nimbus or Job Progress at the time, rather, before our next conversation, right?
Wow.
So those people that are not only eager to learn, but then execute and move quickly on things. And I guess a willingness to be self-aware enough of know what you know what you don't know, right? Is a pattern that I've noticed throughout, like, as I sit here and think through all of our clients that are like very successful, putting the ego aside and saying like, I need help here. And whether it's with sales coaching, whether it's with building out infrastructure, SOPs, whether it's with hiring, like being willing to profess like, I don't know everything, and I'm going to find somebody who does, and I'm either going to plug them in or I'm going to take their advice and I'm going to adapt my company based on what they tell me to do.
Yeah, ask for help. That's great. It's good stuff, man. Solid. I really enjoy I enjoyed this, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you so much for your time. I know you're super busy. Thank you guys for tuning in. Without you, this doesn't happen, right? Because then there's no point. So if any of this has been helpful, share it with somebody who it'll help. You have a responsibility to your community. Just do the right thing. 6 core value at Ascend. And thanks to the team at Roofer for help making this happen. Great team, great company. If you need any help, there's going to be a link in the description. Make sure you guys check them out.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.